The seven seals of Revelation. The seventh seal in Revelation, chapter 8, verse 1 to 6. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was a silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the seven angels which stood before God, and to them were given the seven trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer, and filled it with fire of the altar, and cast it into the earth. And there was voices, and thunderings, and lightnings, and an earthquake. And the seven angels which had the seven trumpets prepared themselves to sound. I don't have a way to prove or confirm this, but in verse 3, we read about the golden censer. In general, a golden censer has something to do with prayers. And it goes on to say, much incense was given, that he should offer it with prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. So in previous chapter in Revelation 7, we read about a great multitude being saved, and we can presume that there were a lot of prayers being offered by these great multitude at the time. So in a way, I speculate that God has recorded this verse about the golden censer to commemorate the fact that there was no time in history that there was so much prayer as this time in Revelation chapter 8. So it seems like many Christians prayed fervently during this era, and in response to the mounting prayers, God has performed the event of the seventh seal. And the events are the voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. And you can notice that these series of events, when compared with those in the seventh trumpet and the seventh bowl, you realize that these combination of voices, thunderings, lightnings, and an earthquake signifies the end of the particular septet. So the series of events here indicate the seven seals is indeed coming to a full closure with the seventh seal. So, before we examine how the septet series of seven seals came to a full closure, if you think about the seventh seal in the Revelation's timeline, then we first recognize that it is written in Revelation chapter 8, which comes after the chapter 7 and before the start of the new septet of trumpets. Because we think the event corresponding to the first trumpet is the World War I happening in 1914, the seventh seal must have happened before 1914. And because it happened after the great multitude appearing between the sixth and the seventh seals, which occupied until the end of 1800s, we speculate therefore that the seventh seal must have happened at the turn of the 20th century. So the question becomes, was there an earthquake-like event in the early 1900s between 1900 and 1914? This is what it boils down to. And yes, there was an event called Tunguska event. A very interesting event indeed. In Wikipedia it reads, the Tunguska event or blast was an enormously powerful explosion that occurred near the Podkamennaya Tunguska River in what is now Krasnoyarsk Krai, Russia, at about 7:14 Krasnoyarsk time on June 30th, 1908. The explosion is believed to have been caused by the airburst of a large meteoroid or comet fragment at the altitude of 5 to 10 kilometers or 3 to 6 miles above the Earth's surface. But the real reason is, of course, unknown, because some even argue that the Tunguska was caused by a UFO crash. But note how it describes the explosion having the epicenter. Just like in the photo here, the trees in the region were knocked over radially. What is peculiar is that the trees weren't knocked over in the same or random direction, but in circular form, as if they're radiating outward from the center of the blast. Although the meteoroid or the comet appears to have burst in the air rather than hitting the surface, this event still is referred to as an impact. For that matter, the Tunguska event is called the largest impact event over land in Earth's recent history. And the estimates of the energy of the blast with 10 to 15 megatons of TNT is about 1,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped in Hiroshima in Japan. The Tunguska explosion knocked over an estimated 80 million trees covering 2,150 square kilometers. An explosion of this magnitude is capable of destroying a large metropolitan area. So there we have the Tunguska blast, considered the first and last impact recorded in recent history. We all know of the movie Deep Impact, and scientists warn us about possible future collision with a meteoroid or comet from outer space, and the deep impact that results from it. But all this astrological phenomena will bring us back to this Tunguska event as the first reference point, just like how the Chernobyl nuclear power plant explosion will remain in history over Fukushima or any other nuclear disasters. So what happened in the seventh seal? There was seen a gold censer filled with fire of the altar, and it was cast into the earth. Then there was voices, thunderings, and lightnings, and an earthquake. So shall we see if the descriptions match the historical account? So back in the Wikipedia entry on the Tunguska event, we can find all the elements of the seventh seal. At around 7:17 a.m., Ivansk natives and the Russian settlers in the hills northwest of the Lake Baikal observed a column of bluish light, nearly as bright as the sun. Can this description explain the golden censer filled with the fire of altar that is cast into the earth? There was a flash and a sound similar to artillery fire. Eyewitnesses reported the sound source moving east to north. Are these the descriptions for the voices, thunderings, and lightnings? The sounds were accompanied by the shock wave that knocked the people off their feet and broke windows hundreds of kilometers away. The seismic stations across Eurasia recorded the earthquake of 5.0 on the Richter scale. It also produced fluctuations in atmospheric pressure strong enough to be detected in Great Britain. Over the next few days, night skies in Asia and Europe were aglow. Countless eyewitnesses and observations on record testify the presence of the voices, thunderings, and earthquakes. And judging by the presence of the flashes and glows in the sky, there also accompanied the lightnings. Many public and private documentary producers, including History Channel on Tunguska explosion, attest to the so far revealed information about the unexplainable impact speculated to have exploded from 5 to 10 kilometers above the surface that accompanied the blast, flashing, lightnings, thundering sounds, shock waves, and an earthquake. But what exactly is the lightnings? It is astrope in Greek, and the definition has it as lightnings or of a gleam of a lamp. Astrope has been used 9 times in the New Testament, and we could review how this word was used in the Bible to better understand its meaning in the context. Firstly, in Matthew 28:3, his countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. This scene is after Jesus Christ resurrected to life, and when Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see Jesus. There was an angel of the Lord, descended from heaven, sitting upon a stone that is rolled back from the door already. And the verse is describing the countenance of an angel, which is like lightning. Secondly, in Luke 11:36, if thy whole body therefore be full of light, having no part dark, the whole shall be full of light, as when the bright shining of the candle does give thee light. So the word shining of the candle also uses the same word with lightnings. Therefore, we can now be confident that this word for lightning does not only describe a flash type of light, but it really describes a glow of light that is very bright. One of the effects of the Tunguska event was that the night skies in Asia and Europe were aglow. This could be fulfillment of the lightning in Revelation 8:5. It's because the word astrope for lightning in Greek could mean the gleam of a lamp instead of the lightning that is commonly associated with thunders. Why is interpreting 7 seals significant? Some believe that the 7 seals will occur within Daniel's 70th week. However, as we have reviewed, all 7 seals have already opened and remain our history, and the final 70th week has not come yet, but when it does, it will not include the 7 seals. Now, if we compare the 7th seal and the 7th trumpet and the 7th bowl, this is how it looks. In the 7th seal, and the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth, and there was voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. So in Revelation 8:5, there was only 4 elements making up the 4th seal, which are the voices, thunderings, lightnings, and an earthquake. But in the 7th trumpet it says, and the temple of God was open in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament. And there was lightnings, voices, thunderings, and an earthquake, and great hail. Thus, Revelation 11:19 writes about 5 elements making up the 7th trumpet. And at last, in the final 7th bowl, it reads, and there was voices, thunders, lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake, and so great. This is probably foretelling us that this earthquake would measure 10.0 or greater on the Richter scale. Why? Because we have already seen earthquakes with magnitude 9.0 or higher. And continuing in Revelation 16:21, it says, and there fell upon man a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And man blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. The great hail here is of tremendous weight, because the talent is about 100 pounds or 40 kilograms. So you can see in the 7th seal there's only 4 elements, and the 7th trumpet there's 5 elements. And obviously this tells the 7th seal and 7th trumpets are different. Why? Because there's additional element in the 7th trumpet. And the 7th bowl is different from the 7th seal and the 7th trumpet. Why? Because there is a great earthquake and a great hail. The earthquake and hail of this magnitude did not exist in the seals or the trumpets. In the 7th seal, if it is indeed the Tunguska event, then there was no crater ever found in the region because no object actually fell and collided with the surface of the earth. But in contrast, God specified that in the 7th trumpet and the 7th bowl, there will be falling objects then, because there will be hails. This probably means that something will actually hit the surface of the earth. So I think God is clearly communicating to us that in the 7th seal, there will not be any object colliding with the earth's surface, because he didn't mention any falling objects. Isn't it great? How more specific can it be? But in the 7th trumpet, there will be actual impact falling from the sky. And wait until the 7th bowl, and there will be a deep impact for sure. I cannot be sure whether the colliding object will be of the meteorite or an asteroid within a few kilometers like in the movie, but the solid objects falling from the sky will definitely hit the earth and produce greater impact than we observed in the Tunguska blast. We have also witnessed recently some small objects that fell in Russia that broke windows and caused quite a havoc. The object was not really big at all, it was quite small. And I think there is a chance that we will see similar events in the future with objects of smaller sizes falling from the sky. However, in the 7th trumpet, it won't be a small object. It will be of some impact. And when is it going to be? It will be after the World War III, after the signing of the 7-year treaty, after the 2 witnesses come to prophesy for 1,260 days, then the 7th trumpet will sound. So until that point, we will not have a deep impact, at least, only small ones, perhaps. Here's a news from 2012 about some hailstone size of golf ball falling in Canada. But when will objects weighing 40 kilograms or 100 pounds fall? It will be during the 7th bowl. So we can be sure that there won't be any objects weighing a talent falling from sky until that point.